Hello and welcome back to episode 1 of the Football Podcast, where today we will be discussing about the world of football in lockdown. I'm your host, Matthew. Let's introduce the others. Today, alongside me, we have Nathan McIlwain.
Hello.
Unfortunately, Thomas Keeling is not available today, but he'll be with us next week. So let's get into episode 1. So over the past few years, women's football has been rising, and it's a great thing. But now with this pandemic, what do you think will happen, Nathan?
I think it will definitely have a massive impact on it, because over the years it has grown bigger and bigger and become a sport that so many people want to watch. But I think that with all the deals that they've been getting with Barclays and all that other stuff, I think it will have a massive impact, and it won't be as big as it was when it comes back out of lockdown.
Yeah, that is a valid point, because obviously Barclays have been given lots of money to try and promote it, and it has worked. Lots of people are going to watch the Lionesses, and I think it's great. So, yes, and what do you think about the players? How will they be affected by the money? Will their salary go down?
I think that the women's football salary is probably low enough at the moment. It's probably too low, considering that they still are playing football, and because men's football get paid like millions a year, and women's just aren't getting enough. So I think that it will definitely have a bigger impact with pay cuts, trying to keep their club alive. But I can't see them getting the same as men's for a couple of years.
Yes, definitely. It's a valid point overall. So Newcastle's new owner is now worth £260 billion, and he's putting all that money into Newcastle United. Obviously, now they're top dog at the moment with money-wise. Manchester City are now second with £26 billion. So how is this going to affect Newcastle, and what do you think they'll do with the money?
It's definitely going to have a massive effect on Newcastle and other teams that were already in, let's say, like the top 5 richest clubs in the Premier League, because they wouldn't think of Newcastle as being one of the big dogs, as we'd say it. But obviously now they are the richest club in the Premier League, and probably England now. And I think they definitely won't be spending their money on players to start off with. It will probably start with the coaches and the facilities, because they're probably the main bits that they need for it to be a football club. Just amid the players, it's just going to be like all the facilities going to be upgraded to the highest. Fitness physios and just the normal coaches, they'll be upgraded. I have heard some news that they are looking for Mauricio Pochettino to take over from who was the ex-Tottenham manager and Southampton. But I think that they won't be spending any money on players until they know that their club is Premier League fit, Champions League fit, and ready for anything that comes along the way, whether it be big events holding in that stadium and maybe even in that area. How do you think that the owners will be setting their standards for such a mid-table club at the moment?
Well, I think they'll be showing discipline and showing, how to financially support them and show them how to use the money wisely, like you were saying with the facilities and the coaching staff before they make sure they've got the right amount of players. And also, I think they'll look at their youth, who's going to be the next Newcastle players, which I'm sure they'll look at and keep on trying to push for. But I think the owners will really look forward to giving them, really good advice with that money and what to do, because obviously Newcastle haven't been given that amount of money in a very long time, probably have never been given that amount of money, and so they need to know what to do with that, and hopefully they'll give them good support, which is a valid point there. With the youth staff or youth players, how will they invest with that, Nathan?
I think it's definitely going to be like what they'll be looking to invest into. I think that's what most clubs are doing now. Like Chelsea, they've got Mason Mount, Tammy Abraham, Vicky Tomori, and they're just three of the big youngsters. Oh, and Billy Gilmore, who is now thriving at Chelsea. He's kind of as one of the big names. But
yeah, definitely, yes.
For Newcastle,
yes.
I think that they will be looking at Matt Longstaff, who has just, I think he scored against Man United to win the game or draw it. I think it was just before Christmas. I think he's put himself as a rising star in Newcastle. But we'll have to see where the youth thing takes him.
Yeah, definitely. Of course. The youth is going to be rising in Newcastle. Now, with the World Cup and the Olympics, obviously the Olympics has been postponed till next year. I heard news in around April or March. And so what do you think will happen there with the World Cup and how teams will be affected?
I think teams will definitely be affected because they're not getting enough money from the fans. And the country won't be getting any money because of TV rights and their country going to the World Cup in a few years. And just, I think that they'll be looking to the FIFA and going, well, if there's no World Cup and there's meant to be, well, can we have our licenses back and the money for it? But I think that for the Olympics, it's going to be postponed another year because obviously so many countries coming together, but at the World Cup, so many countries come together, and if we haven't got a sustainable vaccine by the time everything is going to start, I think that it'll be cancelled, and you have to wait to the next World Cup and the Olympics.
Yes, that is a very valid point there. The Olympics, everyone coming together, that's a massive gathering with all the people travelling all over the world with planes. And on a plane, you know, you're sitting right next to someone who you might not even know. So you've got to really look at that, and FIFA will be discussing all the time what they're going to do with that money. The next point is injuries. Injuries have been around, well, forever really, and they've been discussed and happening, and players obviously have injuries. What do you think will happen with players' injuries, and how will those injuries be affected by the coronavirus?
I think that they won't have a massive impact on the game because obviously players have got to keep themselves fit at home and making sure that they aren't doing too much so that they cause a long-term injury. But I'm sure that most players are keeping on top of themselves. They're not doing too much. They're doing what they're told by the club, either on Zoom or just sent a letter or email, whatever it may be. But I think that now that coronavirus has come along, that they won't be getting as much fitness support as it would be when they're in their clubs.
And especially with all their equipment at the club and everything that's there. And equipment-wise, Nathan, what do you think will happen there? Will the players be given equipment?
I think if they need it, they'll probably ask the club if they can buy it for them or send it to them via a delivery company. But I think players with that amount of wealth, they've probably got their own already, so they don't need to worry about that. But obviously, new and upcoming players who might not get paid as much, they'll probably ask the club if they can get some fitness equipment for just to keep them in the squad when they get back.
Yes, definitely. They will be given lots of advice and Zooms, like you were saying, with Zoom equipment. Now, our big point today is how has this pandemic damaged those people who live and breathe football as a supporter like yourself? How has this pandemic damaged those people?
So I think it definitely has affected people who live and breathe football, because obviously I do. I'm definitely missing it. And I think most football supporters are. We're going to get back to it as soon as possible, but we have to do that when the time is right and when it's safe to do so. But yeah, well, I think the good thing that clubs and competition YouTube channels have been doing is posting retro games or old games that have been a part of the club's history or the tournament's history. I know that Pompey did do a few of their big history moments. So like they had the biggest Premier League win in Premier League record books, where they beat Reading 7-4, the FA Cup final in 2008, and the FA Cup YouTube channel showed the 4-1 victory over Southampton. I know that loads of other clubs have been doing it, not just Portsmouth. All over the world they've been showing different old videos from their club's history or wherever it may be. But I think that players and supporters who do live and breathe football, as you said, have just got to be keeping in touch with the game rather than forgetting about it and then doing other stuff. And then when it comes back, they're not really into football as much. So that's probably what they have to do, just to keep themselves into football. So how do you think non-footballers or non-football lovers are coping with not having normal lives to do?
Well, I think they'll be looking towards, one of their favourite sports, so that might be, hockey, or there's loads of different sports out there. They'll be looking at that and fitness especially. There'll be loads of fitness. But I think people who just occasionally watch football, occasionally go to a big stadium with their family, will definitely miss that because we will not be returning to normal for about another year. So this is just a massive time to actually reflect and just take in those moments that you can remember with your family. And it's a really nice time to go to a stadium, watch some football with your family, listen to all the chanting. I think everyone enjoys it. Now with the social media, obviously with every team has a social media site, what do you think they'll be posting on there?
I think they'll be saying, and a few clubs have already done this, they're saying we'll be back soon, or just looking forward to that day where we all go back to football. And I think they'll just be looking to just promote football again, just keep people in touch with their club and what's going on. But I think that social media and their clubs are going to have to just going to promote the club and the game pretty much.
Yes, no, they are, and like you were saying, like they were saying, just promoting the football games and trying to hope when we come back to it all, people will obviously come and watch football again. So that concludes the first episode of our podcast. We hope you enjoyed it. Stay home, stay safe, and we will see you next week. Goodbye.
Bye.